The other day you posted something about your work.
My van being broken into.
Yeah,
again?
your van being broken into again.
Yeah.
So I want to hear that, dude.
Oh God, it just gets so old. Like the thing that made me really upset about it was kind of the cop's attitude about the whole thing. Like I remember growing up, getting pulled over, the cop being like, "Hey, do you have anything in your car?" And me being like, "No." And he's like, let me see your ID." And I was like, I don't have an ID. They're like, "Well, I guess we're gonna take you in then." Like this guy, they just sit there and talk to him. Like it's no big deal. He doesn't have an ID.
Yeah.
He gives him a name, and it doesn't pop up. Well, of course it doesn't pop up.
Yeah, because it's fake.
Yeah, because it's fake, you know? And then they're like, "Hey, we can't really do anything for you." And I'm like, he was in my fucking car. And it's not his car. His story doesn't match up. And just the whole... It doesn't make sense to me how when I used to just give him a straight story and get in trouble.
Yeah.
And he just gives them a totally made-up story and they don't do anything with
And
it.
bro, like it's actually, because I was a fucking police officer for a long time. It's a crime to give a police officer a wrong name, right? So you can say, "I'm not telling you my name." That's actually your legal right. But then you can get arrested and booked as, you book them as a John Doe, right?
Yep.
And if they give you a name that's a wrong name, that's fucking falsifying information to a police officer, and that's a crime. But the problem is, dude, these fucking radical liberal prosecutors, they won't prosecute any fucking crimes anymore.
That's what made me the most upset is just like the defeat in their eyes. Like they're just like, what's the point?
Yeah. And so it's like, I mean, I've talked about it a lot on the show. Cops will go out there and they'll do, this would be a car prowl. The guy was in your car, right? So
Yeah.
it's a misdemeanor. Did he steal anything or did you catch him before that happened?
There's nothing to steal. That's the whole thing. This van, if I give you the cycle of events on how this van ends up at my house, you would be like, Jesus Christ, that's a horrible story. I feel so bad for you.
But the fucking crazy thing is that you can do everything right. And the cops can come there and they can do everything right. And then the prosecutors are going to be like, we're not interested in this. Yeah. Especially if there wasn't property damage or anything stolen. They're going to be like, nah, whatever.
That's the whole thing. Like leading up to this, it's been like the van was sitting there with a blown motor and had the windows up, unlocked though, with a letter on the steering wheel saying, "Hey, motor's blown, don't even bother stealing." All my material and tools are cleaned out of it. So literally, but I go out there a week ago, the passenger window's broken out. By the way, like I said, the door was unlocked. All I had to do was check the door.
Yeah.
So I'm like, motherfucker. Then I go out there and I put a bag over the side. And 4 days later, there's a car parked right next to it. This guy's got luggage on the side. My neighbor's like, "Hey, dude, there's another guy by your van." I go out there. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" He goes, "Oh, I know somebody that lives over here." I go, "No, you don't. Get your shit and get the fuck out of here." And, am I allowed to swear that much on?
Dude, you can say anything you want on the show.
Okay.
I joke that I'm bringing the word faggot back.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? So anyways, I'm like, get your shit and get the fuck, because I'm not the old Andrew I used to be. Like, if I see a motherfucker, I just don't go crazy. I'm like, "Hey, dude, I get it." Because I've been through some shit.
Yeah.
So more than anything, I try to stop him aside and talk to him for a little bit. Be like, "Hey, here's some resources you could use." But he just wasn't having it. He's like, "I live here, I'm down on my luck. What gives you the right to this isn't your road?" And I'm like, "Dude, I know what you're up to. I'm not fucking stupid. Get your shit and get out of here." And he's like, "I'm not going." And finally I just grab his fucking luggage, throw it in his fucking car. And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." Like, cause by that time I'm this close to him.
Yeah.
And he starts kind of, and I start walking away and under his breath, he goes, "Piece of shit." At that point, I would just lost it. Like, I haven't been that angry in a long time. I turned around, just straight marched toward him. Didn't run towards him, just straight march. And by this time, he has nowhere to run because the door's right here. And I guess he could take off that way. But I'm walking right towards him. And I just grab him and shove him in his car. The back of his head hits the top of the car. And I'm like, right there. And his head by that time's on his emergency brake. And I'm like, "You're leaving." And he's like, eyes are about this big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it crazy? But now you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
dude, I've had 3 run-ins with homeless drug addicts. One of them was stealing shit off my boat next to the gym.
Yeah.
One was breaking into customers' cars while a class was going on. like smashing windows and taking purses out of my parking lot. And I didn't catch either of them face to face, but with security camera footage, and half my friends are cops. So, you see a guy's face that's local that's doing that kind of shit. They all know him.
Yeah.
I identified both of them and took it to the sheriff's office, and they're like, oh, good work. I mean, yeah, this is everything looks, you really put a good case together. This is definitely the guy. We have probable cause to arrest him, but, we'll see what happens. I never heard anything on either case.
Yeah.
So at what point do you just start fucking smashing dudes yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it really gets hard when you're just protecting your family. Like, you know what I mean? There's sometimes I'm with my kids and this type of stuff happens and I got to think of their better half. But there's times where I just go off like this time. And really, it didn't do anything, but it was worth it. Like,
because it was kind of fun.
It was kind of fun. Plus, I was like, God, I just got that out of me. You just carry all that anxiety. I carry it around with me, dude. Like, when I go to my gas, because my gas account's right there at Fast Eddie's, and I go there every morning. I just look at these motherfuckers and be like, which one of these guys broke into my fucking van? Mm-hmm. I swear to God, if I could just get him in my garage for like a week.
Bro, I know. That's what, bro, I think about that same shit. I just want to snatch him up and abduct him and take him out to the property and chain him to a tree. And then you got to tell him this, though. Like, bro, I abducted you and you're chained to a tree on my property, so you know how this ends. Like
right when you come out.
Yeah, I can't let you go, bro. Yeah. Or now I'm fucked,
Yeah. But just 2 weeks long of them knowing they're gonna die.
Dude, we had another one, and this wasn't my problem. It was because it's my mom, like you said, protecting your family. And they just took over a rental property that she had. And there was like 10 of them that just went in the house, and we live here now. And she called the cops and was like, hey, there's like 10 people living in one of my rental houses. And so the sheriff's office went out there, and you know exactly what they said. I have a lease. I have a lease to this house. And so the cops called my mom back and said, they said they had a lease. So now this isn't criminal. It's a civil issue. And so I went to the sheriff's office and I said, hey, there's nothing civil about this. You guys, she asked you to handle it and you didn't. So now I'm going to handle it. And if you want to fucking help me, cool. And if you don't, I really don't give a shit. But I knew a couple of the guys. Oh, Greg, no, it's cool, man. We'll roll with you, And they went out there and arrested some of them. But like, if I didn't know those guys,
yeah,
I'm fucked now. My mom was fucked. A 70-year-old woman, nothing you can do with 10 people that just come into one of your houses and now they say it's theirs. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Exactly. Like, there's people like me and you that won't have it, but there's people like, I mean, I don't want to call anybody out that we grew up with, but there's people we went to high school with that you could shove into a locker and they're not going to do a goddamn thing.
Yeah. Bro, and that's not half, that's like 80% of our society now, And so this one guy was like, they had all their cars on the property, right? And have you seen my big Chevy with the cattle guard bumper on it?
Yeah.
So, dude, this guy had, for being a fucking like methed out homeless motherfucker, he had a Beamer.
Yeah.
And so he was obviously high ranking in the dealing structure, right?
No, let's be honest. It was probably stolen, and the plates were probably stolen off another vehicle.
yeah, for sure.
I lose plates more than anything on my vans.
Oh, yeah. They're always fucking stealing plates. And so I just put my bumper right up against his Beamer and pushed it right off the property, like 50 yards, right? And he's like, what the fuck are you doing to my car? Like, starts yelling at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I'm not the fucking cops. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. And he got up in my face and I shoved him. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind, dude? I'll fucking kill you. And then he's like, he assaulted me. And I'm like, that's what you're dealing with here. You're in my house. Your car's on my fucking property. I asked you to leave. You say, fuck you. And then I make you leave. And now he's screaming assault. Like, you can't deal with that, dude. There's no fucking logic in their brains.
There isn't really anymore. I mean, it used to be you could call the police. Like, I remember the first time my car ever got broken into. Like, Tony was with me, and he was driving on my driveway, and I ran and got in the back of my 4Runner, caught him. And, dude, I've never heard a guy yelp so loud in my entire life. Like, after the cop showed up, I get off him because I'm in my underwear at the point.
You're in your underwear for most of your stories.
Yeah, but I'm in my underwear, get off the guy, and the cops are kind of circled around us, and he takes off running. and bolts right between two cops. I'm like, I'm not letting this guy get away because they're all kind of older cops, and
they're old and fat and they can't chase people.
Yes, that was the truth. But anyways, it was funny. I bolt off, catch the guy, and kind of do like a flying DDT. But there was one kind of big,
dude, you're like a high level MMA fighter, and you go to the flying DDT.
I'll tell you the funny part after the story. But anyways, the guy falls down. This officer just comes right back. The guy's probably about 280 probably, and just straight knee in the back, like right here, and you just hear this. Like sounded like he just kicked a chihuahua. They finally get him in the car, and then I forget what officer it was.
Bobner?
No, it wasn't Officer Bodmer. It wasn't the dare officer. It wasn't Officer Skinner, my next door neighbor. It was kind of an older guy. He worked before he was a police officer, he worked at the jail. But I don't know. Long story short, he looks in there and he looks at me and he knows me. He goes, God, you got to be a stupid motherfucker to steal a truck from this guy. So just like that to the guy, and the guy's got his head slumped down. He's just feeling like a piece of shit, which he is. And but a year later, I get locked up for driving on a suspended, playing dominoes. And the guy's like,
"You're playing dominoes in your cell?"
No, out in the little the common area. And this guy's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Well, I lived in California when I was a little kid, but pretty much from right around here." And I look up. I'm looking at him. I'm like, "You stole my motherfucking truck." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, I was really fucked up on meth." Because he's probably like 40 pounds heavier than he was that night. And
but he wasn't doing too good if he was back in.
No, he was in there from that case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he actually they got him. Well, he had like 4 warrants out at that time. He'd been on the run for a little while.
Got it.
That's a funny thing too. Like warrants. There's so many people. Like if you can't check an ID, how the fuck are you gonna know? That's one thing I was like, you're not gonna check this guy's ID to see who he is. This guy could be a fucking murderer,
bro. And we had little fingerprint scanners that are like this big that just go in your pocket.
Yeah.
And scan it, and then you take it back. Like your partner will stay with the guy, and then you go plug it into your computer, and it pops up and says who he is. So the technology exists to figure out who these motherfuckers are. They're just, the system's broken and they're not willing to go after it anymore. You know,
well, I could see that. Like if you took 2 hours out of your day to find out that this guy, you went back there, your partner stays with them, whatever, and then come to find out he spent 2 days in jail and got back out again. What's the fucking point?
Bro, it's not even that. It's they're out that night.
Yeah, I know. Like a year ago, my house got broken into. You saw that story. The guy was out like the day later. He went into my fucking house.
Yeah.
Like, and I caught him, like he was walking out and I was walking up and I figured he was one of the neighbors because they're kind of fucked up. But I just got this feeling. I was like, this guy just did something fucked up. I could tell. Right when I go inside, my front entryway is a little fucked up. And I'm like, he was in here. So I turned around and chased him down, and cops show up, took him away, but he was out the next fucking day.
Bro, I fucking, when I was still a police officer, I fucked this dude up. I broke my hand on his head. He was I think I might have told you this story, the 270-pound Samoan guy. He was in a stolen car. He was high on PCP. He had ran into a pregnant lady, and then my partner tried to block him in, and he rammed her out of the way. And dude, I just fucking, he got cornered for a minute, and I just opened the door and mounted him in the driver's seat and just smashed him and like broke his orbital and shit. Come to find out, he got in a fight with 7 police officers the night before, and they booked him, and then they kicked him the next day. Next day, he's out high on PCP, stealing cars, running pregnant ladies over. I broke my hand. We booked him on like 5 fucking felonies. They let him out that night too. And I'm just like, okay, this dude is as dangerous as they fucking come. And that's what they do now. So
that's crazy.
It is, man. It's fucking nuts.
I don't want to talk just about beating people up the whole time, but
no. Well, bro, we'll start the actual podcast. I like to just hit record when we sit down, because now we're just shooting the shit and having fun. Yeah. And that's the vibe that people like when they listen to their podcasts. You know?
Yeah. But it feels bad for cops too, because like literally I kind of like the system a little bit now, because I can do whatever I want on my fucking street bike, and cops don't do a goddamn thing to me.
Bro, on my fucking, I'm doing a bunch of work on my property, and I'm using a trailer that has tabs that expired a long time ago, and I'm like, nah, they can't pull you. They won't pull you over for expired tabs anymore, so who gives a shit?
Yeah. Like literally, I'll do a wheelie. I did a wheelie by a bike, and the guy just looks at me, and he's just like, and I'm like, oh, you know.
Yeah, on one hand, shit's falling apart, but on the other hand, he can kind of do what you want now. So I guess it's kind of cool.
I think a lot of the laws I look at are just, well, let's be honest, a lot of them are just financial purposes.
Of course they are. Bro, most traffic enforcement is for generating revenue. Like,
totally.
You can't articulate to me that going 67 down I-5 in dry, sunny conditions with no other cars around you is any type of safety concern for anybody. It's not.
It's not just that, but I think pulling people over, if visually you can't see that they're endangering something, you shouldn't be able to have a radar gun. Anything like that.
No, I agree, man. I think it's the profession, and I feel bad for cops because we need them in society. We need them to protect our families and respond to crimes and respond to emergencies. But then on the other end, they get tasked with this weird fucking thing that, what does it do? It just makes the public hate you. Yeah. Traffic enforcement makes the public hate you. And that's why I think the profession needs to get away from it and have some, if you want traffic enforcement, that should almost be a separate entity. These people go out and enforce traffic. The only side of that would be hard to deal with is statistically, some of the most dangerous encounters police have is approaching vehicles. And so now that that's the case, you're going to have people that carry guns and are trained and all that shit, you know, to enforce any type of traffic law.
I think pulling people over is a good thing. But giving people tickets for speeding and shit, I think when you pull somebody over, usually if they're speeding or usually in that state of mind, a lot of them are criminals.
Yeah,
you know? No, for sure. There needs to be some way to double check up on somebody and be like, hey, is this guy up to no good? And you should be able to, visually, you know when someone's doing something wrong.
100% of my traffic stops, I would pull people over, get their ID, run them, and then tell them have a nice day. Never issue citations, ever, dude. Like every once in a while, maybe like a no insurance, just because if someone's a piece of shit and they're continuously not having insurance, you are putting your community in a fucking bad spot, you know? But like, even that, more often than not, this is what I do to people. Because if they don't have insurance, that probably tells you they don't have money, right?
Not just that, but a lot of people, like I don't have insurance. I've rear-ended people before. But financially, I took care of the obligation. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the money to take care of it right at that time. There's a lady who wrote me like this really nice letter. She actually gave me a fucking gift card. Like there's like $2,800 damage. Like I promise I'll take care of it, you know? And mainly it was because at the time I was doing dope and I just really wasn't responsible enough to keep insurance. But I worked every day. I had money. You know, I wasn't about to just not financially take care of myself. But year later, paid for it. It was just a dent. Car worked totally fine. Got it all fixed up. And she wrote me this nice letter. She's like, there should be more people like you nowadays, you know, because most people just pay to their insurance and turn it over and, you know,
yeah.
But you know, and she got me a gift card to Outback. Literally, I went there and had dinner with Ashley, and I was like, "Oh, it was really nice of her." And Ashley's like, "No, it was really nice of you to pay. You really didn't have to." And I was like, "Well, I kind of have to because that's who I am."
It's a moral obligation.
Yeah,
but that's the thing, dude. Even when you went down like rabbit holes of addiction and shit, and we lost touch during that whole time. But I'm imagining that you're still you. You know what I mean? Like
you are. I mean, you are to a point. Mentally wise, it gets you in this place where you wake up in the morning. Like when I was younger, first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is it's time to take a shower. It's time to do like, you know, morning push-ups or get going and plan for your day. Like now it's get up, get well so I can actually function, you know, and then go on with my day.
Well, fuck, let's start unpacking all this shit. Because I want to start when we were kids.
I was thinking about starting in the middle. Like all the best parts of a story start in the middle.
Well, where do you want to start?
You know, you're watching a movie and, you know, the beginning kind of gets you going and the end's always the gayest. Like Lord of the Rings Part 3 was just horrible for like half the time.
Or fucking Game of Thrones. The end was the worst, dude.
Oh, it was horrible.
Like they ruined that. I love that whole series and then they ruined it, dude.
Like my favorite part of that was like kind of like the middle where beginning was pretty cool too. But the middle, especially after what's his name, the tower or the big tall guy got killed by that guy with the spear.
The mountain?
Yeah, the mountain.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I love that.
Did you see the mountain just had a real fight?
Yeah, he fought. What's his name?
Eddie Hall.
Yeah, who won?
Mountain knocked him out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't that so sad that that's what fighting's become?
I just don't I don't understand why those guys want to do that. Like you already have 4 million followers and you're the world's strongest man. Like,
I could see wanting to do it, but just doing it for publicity. Maybe he did want to fight him. Yeah. Sometimes you just want to fight somebody just to get it over with and be like, hey, I want to see what this guy's got.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. A lot of the fighting is now like all the internet shit, the Paul brothers and all that, you know?
Insane to me. And I'm not saying they can't box at all. I mean, they're decent boxers.
Dude, he knocked out Tyron Woodley.
I don't know. I watched that a couple of times. It seems a little ridiculous to me, but...
Oh, you think it was a fix?
I do. I honestly do.
And coming from you, that says something. So we'll get into it because you were one of the pioneers of MMA in the area, dude.
I remember one night, and I don't know, when you sit back and watch fights, because Eric used to always have me watch. I love boxing. I don't really like watching MMA, to be honest with you.
Last night was fucking awesome. I don't know if you saw last night.
I love watching boxing. And I love watching fights and just watching footwork, like prior to. I remember the Gonzaga Krokop fight.
Yeah.
And Bunick and Loth were there watching it with me, and they're like, Krokop's going to destroy this guy. He's just going to fucking kill him. And I watched it, and about 30 seconds in, I was like, I bet he doesn't. And Gonzaga, I mean, it's not really rocket science. He just walked away from the lead leg the whole time. And, just kept circling that way. And a lot of people, Eric was really good about coming up with game plans for fights and just sticking to a game plan. But Gonzaga, I could tell he was going to win that fight right away. I didn't think he was going to win by
head kick knockout.
Definitely didn't think like that, but I thought he was going to win the fight.
Do you remember Krokop's knee? He fell back and twisted and landed turned his foot all the way around. It was nasty. And
I actually won some money that night. I bet him, I think 10-1 odds that he was going to beat him 30 seconds into the fight.
Oh, against Bunick?
Yeah, Bunick and them.
Yeah, they'll take that, dude.
Yeah, totally. They both did, and I think I won $100. I would have paid him $1,000.
And remember, that was for the number one contender spot. Yep. Whoever won that fight was going to fight Randy Couture for the title. And the UFC wanted Krokop Couture, because that would have been a fucking blockbuster, you know? Yeah. But Gonzaga upset that shit.
So let's just start. Let's start around 20.
All right.
For me. So we weren't really hanging, 25, somewhere around there.
So, yeah, we grew up together in Snohomish. And then when I graduated, I went in the military, and I kind of just disappeared for a long time. And I don't even know what you did. Yeah. I knew you got in some shit, and I knew you went down some dark tunnels.
Maybe we'll start when we were kids.
Okay.
So when I moved to, kind of when I grew up, so... And you can ask me anything. I'm an open book, to be honest with you. You can ask me fucking anything.
Okay, cool.
That's one part about me now. I'm really honest. Like, Ashley will kind of get freaked out sometimes. Like, I'll be in a restaurant and just be like, fucking, nah, you shoot dope.
Well, bro, I mean, the thing is, it's like, whatever your path you walked is what brought you to who you are today. And if you've beaten the odds and you've actually fucking went through some really dark shit and you found a path out of it, you should share that shit. That's one of the reasons why I called you, because I was like, dude, this story, because, dude, how many fucking people are the first 10 minutes of the podcast, we're talking about people that are addicted to meth and heroin doing fucked up shit. And if you and I sit down and you tell your story about being an addict and then figuring out how to defeat that, and it empowers one person, or maybe someone listens and is like, fuck, my brother is addicted, he needs to hear this, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Then it's worth our fucking time, you know?
Totally. And it's not just addiction, it's everyday life, just because the main thing that got me out of it was accountability. Mm-hmm. And not comparing really in society we find ourselves comparing comparing yourself to everybody else, instead of comparing yourself to being the best you can be.
Well, who said the quote, the comparison is the thief of joy?
It totally is.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know who said it, but it is.
Yeah, that's a real thing, man. So yeah, we met in 9th grade.
Yes, 9th grade. I think
dude.
We had Mr. Parker's class together.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you remember? Yeah. I love Mr. Parker, man. But I actually moved to the area when I was 8 or 9. Okay. Are we starting now?
Oh, we've been going the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. We've been going for 24 minutes, bro.
All right. So we started, I moved the area around 8 or 9. Kind of grew up. I don't want the whole show to be about growing up with a troubled past, because usually, honestly, everybody thinks they grew up fucked up. Like my son right now, my oldest son, and he kind of did. I let him down. That's probably the toughest thing for me, is letting my son down, my oldest. But every kid around 18 or 17 starts to think their life is just horrible. I don't know what it is about feeling sorry for yourself when you're in high school, but it comes on at that age.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, but I grew up kind of tough. My dad wasn't around. My mom, she did the best she could. As I've gotten older, we have a somewhat of a relationship, but it's not talking relationship. It's once in a while I'll call her, tell her I love her, but we don't have. It just brings way too much negative energy.
Yeah.
At some point in your life, you have to figure out who's positive for you and who's negative for you. Doesn't mean you don't love them. Doesn't mean you don't care for them or care about them. It just means that you want to go somewhere else with your life.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people stay in relationships for way too long because they feel they have some sort of obligation to this person because they love them. Doesn't mean you have to stay with them. So, but yeah, I lived in Everett, moved us to Homish. My grandfather got us a house right out there. Met Nate Tout. I love Nate Tout. His family's awesome. They kind of took me in. I'd always stay over there. And started going to middle school, yada, yada, yada. And then we met in ninth grade.
Mm-hmm.
God, good old freshman campus.
Fuck, dude.
The mixing of Centennial and Valley View, the two arch rivals.
Yeah, that's right, dude.
Oh, man. I remember the first time at the freshman campus running into Matt Kendall. And I used to do kickboxing, and they teased me. And you know how, like, everybody just thinks that you're just... I never got in a fight at the freshman camp because back then I never fought really.
Uh-huh.
Like I was a good kid. I don't know when I became such a prick, but
junior year.
I think it was either junior or sophomore year, like where I just got this. I don't know. I just started fighting a lot more.
Well, you started training. I mean, we were freshmen. You were already kickboxing, and you were varsity wrestler the whole time too, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, being 15 years old, being a high-level wrestler and understanding kickboxing, you're so far ahead of anybody else. And the other kids, and me included, didn't understand what fighting was back then.
No, not at all. Like, so, the thing is like, I remember watching UFC when Maurice knocked out Randy. I think it was, he beat Randy for the championship, right? Yep. Yeah, I forget, but I'm sitting there watching it, and Nathan's over there, and I'm like, yeah, I train with this guy. And it's just weird to be able to say that I didn't train with Maurice. It's not like we held pad, but he's in the same room as me. Yeah. I was in the same room. I met Chemo. All those old UFC fighters that you see on TV.
So you were 15 years old.
15, 16.
Training with Josh Barnett, Ivan Salavari.
Yes. No, Ivan wasn't there yet.
Ivan wasn't there yet?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
me and Josh used to get into the ring at AMC and fake, like, WWE wrestle. It was fucking fun.
So how did that even come to be then? At what point did you decide, like, dude, fighting is something that interests me or training is something I like and go down that path?
I was always a fighter. I remember it came down to, like, the first attaboys, At my household, I didn't get a lot of attaboys. A couple things stick with you when you're a kid. Like, one really stuck with me is, like, my brother. My brother's a great guy. Like, when he moved out of the house when I was younger, that was, like, a big, big hit for me. My grandma, we're at Christmas, and she looks at me and she looks at my brother. She goes, Victor, I know you're going to be great. Andrew, I just don't know about you. And
what a fucked up thing to tell a kid.
You don't really, like with my kids, I catch myself doing stuff like that sometimes, and I have to go back and revisit and be like, how would it be interpreted by a kid? Because me being interpreted, it was like, I'm a piece of shit, and he's a winner.
Of course. Yeah. How else is that going to be interpreted,
As an adult, you're thinking to yourself, maybe I'm just trying to let him know that he's got some negative hits towards him because he doesn't have a father. His mom's a piece of shit, and he needs to be careful and make good choices. Maybe, but
it could have been articulated like that.
Yeah. Like maybe she could have sat down and been like, hey, I love you if you ever need anything. And you just gotta think about how they're going to interpret it. And my grandmother's harsh. But, looking back at her, she had 20 pictures of me in her house. Had none of my brother. She loved me to death because I lived right next to her. I lived with them pretty much sometimes. And, but coming from that, at that point, I was like, if I'm going to be a bad motherfucker, I'm going to be a bad kid. And I would get in fights in elementary. And I remember being in third grade and fighting a sixth grader. And all the kids just loved me for it. So at that point, I was like, this is how I'm going to get my attaboys.
Oh, people kind of recognize or put you on a pedestal.
Yeah, because
for
I can
being tougher than everybody.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
But then I got good grades, and I figured I can get attaboys from that. My grandpa and grandma gave me good attaboys for that. I got really good grades up until my senior year, and even then I got good grades, but I just was taking gay classes. But then I was driving through Snohomish and saw a sign that said kickboxing, and it was Leo Speedy Gonzalez.
I remember him.
Yeah, and he taught the class and went there. They actually moved to Lake Stevens, right there by Rite Aid.
Yep.
You know where that the Rite Aid is there by the Everett Clinic?
Mm-hmm.
It was tucked away back there. And about a week going in there, I met Eric, and I don't know. Eric just had a way of talking to me to get like through to my head. He wasn't like, I mean, you're 14 years old, you're going through puberty, you like women, and he has a way of talking about women and stuff and making you think he's one of the guys.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he could mentally get almost anybody ready to fight or anybody mentally prepared to do anything in their life. He's a great mental coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not one fight I ever went into in the street or even right now that I don't think I would win. I know that sounds crazy, but
well, I mean, you've earned that though too, you know.
And I could, to everybody else's perspective, they'd be like, "Hey, he's going to lose," but mentally, you have to tell yourself that you're going to win no matter what.
Or why else are you there?
Yeah, why else would you be there? Like, there's fights. 5 minutes before, I was nervous and be like, "God, am I going to win this?" But right when we went to the ring, there's not a fight I thought I would lose.
Mm-hmm. No, and I mean Eric, and you're talking about Eric Wiseman, who still has a very successful jiu-jitsu and MMA academy. He's probably doing the best he's ever done, right?
With kids too.
Yeah.
I mean,
kids are where it's at, bro. I'm telling you.
I was talking to him too. I was thinking to myself, like, why didn't he ever train? Why didn't he ever, go after awards himself? But if you think about it, he's had such an impact. He's had more of an impact than Josh Burnett has.
Yeah, on actually like changing people's lives.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are we all here for, really? It's really to have an impact on your family, have an impact on your community, have an impact on everybody around you. That's what's so sad about nowadays. You look at these YouTubers that are more popular than anybody, and they have no real positive impact on life.
No, it's just bullshit coming through your fucking screen. No, it's funny. I like that you said that because, like, I've been talking about it quite a bit lately, that my kids program, because, dude, we probably have 65 kids now. It's huge.
Yeah.
Or maybe more than that. I'm not sure. But regardless, seeing them show up on the mats, and I run my jiu-jitsu academy how I would run it. I don't fucking change it because parents are in the room or anything. It's like, this is who I am. This is how I'm going to run the gym. And if you're in alignment with us, cool. But like, I'll do like hardest worker in the room awards, and we'll do a minute of burpees, and whoever gets the most gets a fucking electric jiu-jitsu hat, things like that. And I'll tell the kids, I'm like, being the hardest worker in the room is going to pay off. Your school teacher probably tells you everybody's equal, and that's a fucking lie, you know?
Totally.
And watching these little boys and girls like come to these realizations of, oh, like if I show a good attitude and I work hard, I'm actually getting really good at something, and it's rewarding. And you start to see them grow, and that's become... Bro, out of all the shit I've done, teaching kids jiu-jitsu is the most fulfilling.
Oh, totally.
You know?
You say the thing that you don't change yourself for who's in the room. If you would, why would that be? It'd be because of money. You're afraid of losing money, which is pretty much the fear of money, the fear of this is things that get you to change yourself for your perspective on stuff.
And the funny thing is if you do that, it'll actually hurt your business.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna succeed more being authentic and teaching what you teach, and you're gonna attract the right people if you do that. If you try and play some game, people are gonna see that there's some inauthenticity to who you are, and it's gonna fuck you.
Not only that, but you're not gonna be true to who you are.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, come on.
All right, so you saw a kickboxing sign.
Went to Lake Stevens, started training there, and just loved it. Like literally. I remember working for like 3 months straight to turn my garage into a gym. I got a speed bag, got everything, and really didn't change my life per se, but definitely did change the fact that I was good at something and people appreciated me for something.
Were you already wrestling too?
Yes, I was wrestling.
Did you wrestle your whole life, or?
When I was a kid, my parents were the type of people, if I started something, I could just quit it. I could do whatever. I mean, really, I could do whatever I wanted to do. Ask Brett. I mean, literally, my mom would buy me cigarettes and like when I was 13.
Yeah. That's fucking dangerous, you know?
Dude, I remember she left me with this babysitter, Mike Hanley, and like came home and there's wine coolers in my room. And didn't say a goddamn thing. You know, I'm fucking 13 and I'm drinking wine coolers, and it's.
Did you bang the babysitter?
No, it was a guy. Okay. There was a night when he had girls over there, and I was like trying to, yeah. But, anyways, so started, and that's how I got my attaboys, was just training and fighting, and you know, I was good at school and stuff too. But that was my path. I knew I was gonna do that, and that's kind of how I got to like freshman campus, and Eric was really always cool with me wrestling. He always pushed wrestling. It was like, you're going to go wrestle during wrestling season and then come back.
And bro, I do that. There's a handful of my jiu-jitsu kids that I do the same thing to. Their parents came to me and like, do you think that doing wrestling during wrestling season would be a good thing for my son? I'm like, it's the best thing.
Yeah.
And if a jiu-jitsu guy tells you it's not, it's because they've never win against good wrestlers. Like, you can call it jiu-jitsu, you can call it grappling, you can call it wrestling. It's all encompassing, right? And if you can get really good at wrestling, it gives jiu-jitsu guys problems.
So wrestling wise and training is kind of where I found my path. And I remember my first fight, I did a Sabaki fight. It was funny. I don't know if you know who Danny Boy Bennett is.
No, and I don't know what Sabaki is either.
It's like bare-fisted karate, full contact. You can hit to the body. You just can't hit to the face. You can throw. And had my first fight at that, and I dislocated my toe in the middle of the fight, and they had to pop it back in. And I think I got fighter of the night that night. But just fighting at the Everett Bingo, people don't really understand, but this Washington State is huge for MMA, like from the ground up. Like, you have Josh Barnett, you have Murray Smith, you have Randy Couture, you have all these great fighters that started around here. I mean, if you look back when MMA first started, you had Matt Hume, which is
who's still like one of the godfathers of MMA.
Yeah, and it started here. Like, it started here, maybe Florida and California.
And you know, like Matt Hume and Charlie Pearson both are like super high up in the ONE FC organization now.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not talking about just fighters, but I'm talking about actually the building of
Of MMA.
Yeah, and started fighting. That was my first fight, and then I had a couple more fights.
And Eric Wiseman was your coach from the beginning?
Always the coach.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but when I was like 15, and because Eric always saw it coming. He knew exactly where I was going. And so he offered to take me in, and my mom was totally like, yeah, go ahead. Go live with Eric. And me being 14 at that point, though, maybe if he would have got there a couple years earlier, I would have gone and lived with them. But at that point, I could do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah, Eric would have given you rules.
Yeah, rules and regulations. I couldn't fucking do whatever I wanted to do. And same with like drug addiction. You know, I think maybe if somebody would have just came and grabbed me, been like, fucking, you get over here. You're going to do this because I know it's good for you. Same thing we should be doing with addicts right now. We should be grabbing them, taking them into some camp, getting them straight for 2 years.
I agree, dude.
But, you know, you just have these people that think you're doing the right thing for them. How do you know what the right thing is for them? You've never even done drugs.
Yeah.
You know. But started fighting. Probably.
How old were you when you took your first like full contact MMA fight?
I think I was 18.
Okay.
17, somewhere around there. I had 17, 18, right around there. Okay. I think it was my junior year. And I honestly haven't lost a fight in the ring, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But, God, sorry, my brain's pausing. You know, you get older, you get concussion syndrome, or you forget where you're at. Dude, I swear to God, like this morning, Ava like came up to me and I called her Ashley. I'm so bad with names sometimes.
Bro, that's all of us, I feel like.
That is one thing I will say, what's it called? The news has, right? You know, the concussion syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll go down that checklist of all the things like anger, this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like spot on.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad to say that, but that's the truth. But so yeah, trained all the time with Eric, and the way it would work on fights is I would go train at Charlie's during the week, and then I'd go to AMC, which like Aaron Riley, tons of UFC guys. Ivan Silveri, Bob Sapp would be there. Matt always got paid to train.
Bob Sapp?
Yeah.
Did you ever roll with Bob Sapp?
No, but honestly, I like the way I judge guys is their tank. Like if they're tough, like, you know, like if they're not going to give up and get tired and just quit. And Bob Sapp is a quitter when it comes to getting aired out.
I think you have to be a quitter if you're 400 pounds.
Kind of, yes.
You know what I mean? Like that body cannot sustain fighting. It can't, dude. That's not a fighter's body.
Not at all. Like even look at Conor McGregor right now. I think what he's doing is totally wrong. Like,
trying to get giant, dude. Because he didn't have the best gas tank when he was 145. Like Conor's good. Conor's super good in round one, and then he starts to fade. And I mean, I think part of that's genetics, part of that's your training, but getting up to 190 or whatever he's trying to do, I don't think it's going to serve him either.
Like I look at Riley right now, that's a perfect fighter's body, long, lanky, and you just don't want to be bulky. I remember when I fought Ed Herman, I was bulkier and I got tired quicker. But when I fought Paul Purcell for the Northwest, I forget what the title is, but I was skinny, like quick, fast, and I felt good, like relaxed, you know. I think right around Ed is when I feel like I went from being an amateur fighter to being a professional fighter, to where you're relaxed. You're not going there to fight. Like you're not going there to beat somebody up, but you're just going there to compete and you're relaxed. And
you fought Ed Herman after he was on The Ultimate Fighter, right?
No, before.
Right before?
Yes, right before. It was probably Chris was on Ultimate Fighter came out about 3 months after I quit fighting.
Okay.
There's two things that, like, when I found out I wanted to be a fighter when I was younger, like, cause that's how I got out of boys. But my whole life really circled around me wanting to be a father. You know, like growing up without a dad, I just really wanted to be a good father. You know, I didn't want to
give somebody something that you never got.
Yeah, yeah. That's what, like you see yourself when you're a kid what you want to do. Like some people want to be a policeman, some people I just wanted to be a good dad and have like. I'm sure it's subliminally put into you through the news. Hey, you got to have a wife, you got to have a kid, you got to have this, and you know, to be a good person. And that's what I wanted. But more than anything, I didn't have to have the wife. I didn't have to have the house. I just wanted to have my own son, just somebody I could share stuff with. And after fighting, and after that, you know, I was right around 20 years old, and I started having my first kid. You know, found out I was gonna have Kai. I think I was 21. Tony came up to me and was like, "Hey, I'm pregnant." And I'm like, sweet, this is awesome.
I've been waiting for this. Huh?
Yeah, most people are like, fuck, what am I going to do? I knew what I was going to do. You know, I was going to be a good dad. And told Eric, hey, I'm just done fighting. And the thing about Eric is he always knew that fighting would recenter me. I remember I got into some trouble when I was younger, got in a fight. Right after that, I started training when I got out because I was drinking. Like literally, when I got out of jail, Darren Loth, Gavin, and Chris Church came pick me up. They had a log of Skull wintergreen in the truck and fucking 2 cases of beer. Got shit-faced the whole way back.
Was there no chew in jail?
No. There's cigarettes, but no chew.
Dude, so let's tell that fucking story because that's, to this day, that's a strange story for me because we're in high school, your reputation starts to precede itself. At
that point.
Yeah, like Andrew knows how to, Andrew is a fucking professional fighter and we're still in high school. Or, I mean, amateur at the time, whatever, but you're a high-level fighter.
The funny thing is that amateur back then was professional.
Yeah, exactly, right? And on top of, like, there's a million people that train MMA now. And I've trained MMA and I've fucking fought and I've been around some fucking high level guys. There was always something different about you. And that's a real thing. I mean, I think we both know, and this isn't like tooting your horn or a statement that's not grounded in reality. Had you wanted to go to the UFC, you would have been in the UFC.
Yeah.
And that's not even me. Charlie Pearson told me that verbatim. He's like, if Andrew wants to be in the UFC, he could be in title contention. Like he knew that, you know? And like
that's kind of cool to hear.
No, yeah.
Title contention, but
no, he says like Andrew could be a high level UFC fighter if he wants to. And I remember because everybody's always like, dude, why doesn't he do that? Dude, why doesn't he do that? It's like, dude, you go fight in the ring if you want to say, dude, why doesn't he do that? Like you're gonna have to choose whether you want to do that or not, you know. And just because you have the talent, if you don't have the desire, then it's not going to work.
Yeah,
you know. But going back real quick. So when we're in high school, everybody knew how good of a fighter you were because there's a couple dudes that you just murked at parties and shit, and everybody. Didn't you head kick, knock out someone at a party one time when we were kids?
I don't think so.
What? No?
No, maybe not. If it happened, there's sometimes in my memory where like there's some things, like I said, I can remember when I was 7 years old, but there's some things like there's been guys have been like, hey, remember you slept with her? And I'm like, oh yeah, I did.
But bro, the whole reason I say that is because this guy was wasn't he a Taekwondo black belt or something?
Tim Buckles.
Yeah,
yes.
Tim Buckles, and he's like, I remember the word started circulating at school. It was like, oh, that Andrew guy, I'm a fucking black belt in Taekwondo. I could take that dude.
This is what happened. Like, and of course it always centers around a woman, right? Everything always centers, like 90% of men's problems are from women. So I dated Helen Chang, which is funny because I saw her in Safeway like 3 weeks ago. This is how good my memory. She's got a mask on. I go, Helen. She goes, Andrew? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, wow. But anyways, saw her in the halls. I'm talking to her, and Tim saw. And Tim was dating her at the time. And I'm really small in high school. Like, I don't know if you remember that, but I'm just fucking teeny. I'm like 122 pounds my freshman year. That's what I wrestled. And he's taller. I think he was probably like $180, somewhere around there. And he saw me and he said something, and I didn't make anything of it. But we're walking through the courtyard during lunch, like the coolest place to be.
Yeah,
when, you know,
blocks.
The blocks as a sophomore. You know, God, can I hang out with the seniors? But he like purposely did the shoulder shrug. You know, the purposeful shoulder shrug
and
where
bumped into you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I turn around, I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, fuck you, man. And I was like, let's fucking do this, you know? And I, you know me, when I get in that mode, I don't really give a fuck. And I don't know, it somehow got broken up, but somebody came up in class and was, Tim's gonna fight you. And I'm like, fuck yeah, woo! Like so excited. And then I start telling all the guys, and he's like, yeah, you need to show up alone by yourself. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. Okay. So we go up to Seattle Hill, and
but you guys planned to meet up and fight.
Yes.
That was like an agreement.
Mutual agreed upon thing. Oh, that you want to go with the whole law thing of this?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, looking at it, you got arrested and went to jail for beating the fuck out of this dude when you guys had a problem and you agreed to go meet.
Yep. Not only that, but listen, I mean, if you look at the whole story, he didn't plan to meet and fight me there. He planned to have 5 other guys jump me.
Yeah.
Because when I walked around the corner, I saw all fucking 5 or 6. I can't remember how many there was, but they had a crowbar. One of them had a chain, and now we know that one of them had a gun. So I come around the corner, and then I whistled, and the surprise in his face when everybody else came out. He didn't plan on other people showing up.
like he thought you were going to follow the instruction of show up alone. So,
anyways, I'm like, let's do this. Now we're here. And kind of the circle breaks out, and there's people, and he takes his shirt off. And like I'm such a bad person sometimes. So fucked up. I mean, who would honestly think about to grab someone's sweatshirt, pick it up, and wipe your ass with it, and then throw it in their face? Yeah. Dude, but honestly, the fight was over right then. Literally, when that jacket, because I remember it was a Tommy Hilfiger, like pull over, like white, red, and like just ass smear on it hits his face. And the look in his eyes, he was done. And he did not want to fight, but I'm not going to stop. So I just feint towards him. He puts his hands up, double leg, back of his head hits the concrete, and got up. And I can't incriminate myself anymore because I've already served my time for it. But I just pummeled his face, just boom, 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 and got off of him. And then Church is like, he's not done. He's not done. And I just booted him in the head like 2 or 3 more times. And then the gun went off. And but at that point, up until when I took it to the next level, and some people might say it's taking it to the next level, but to be honest, if you agree to fight somebody, you better be ready to fucking die.
Well, and when you actually got in trouble for that, what did they say? Like, what were the actual legal charges?
2nd-degree assault.
Okay.
Which usually has to do with a weapon or intentionally trying to hurt somebody.
Yeah, in Washington State, assault too is like pretty serious.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's a strike. Yeah.
And so, I mean, you ended up getting fucking charged and convicted. And we were juniors in high school, and you went to jail for what, 7 months or something?
It was like, God, I can't remember. I think it was 8 months.
8
I
months.
served 8 on 12.
And it's like, dude, Andrew's in we're kids, and you got in a fight, and Andrew's in jail now.
Yeah. The thing that's fucked up about that whole, like, I remember not thinking it was that big of a deal. You know, I just think they had to have somebody to stick it on because of the gun. You know, you got parents involved at that point who had a gun go off with a bunch of kids up there.
It was his dudes that had the gun.
I know.
you know?
At that point, though, they're just like, you know how it is.
They had to make it look serious. Or yeah.
They couldn't arrest him. He got beat up.
Yeah.
They couldn't arrest the guy because they couldn't find out who it was. And they had to put it on somebody. Plus, BJ Thompson's police statement didn't help me out too much. Andrew showed up, smashed the guy, kicked him in his head when he was down. It was awesome. Like, literally at the end of his statement said, it was awesome.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you have 16-year-olds writing police statements.
I was just like, I'm sitting there looking at it with my lawyer. And then my mom, of course, hires this cheap fucking idiot of a lawyer. And really, like, the thing is he got me tried as a youth. But a lot of people don't know this. Second-degree assault as a youth, minimum is a year to 3 years.
Okay.
For adult, it's 3 months to like 24 years or something. Like the range is way different.
A big range. Okay.
So of course you want to get tried as a minor whenever you can, but in that case, I wasn't planning on. I guess.
Did you actually go to trial on that, or did you just take some type of?
I went to trial.
Oh shit!
No, I didn't go to trial. Sorry, no, I took a plea deal.
Okay.
I still pled. Well, I pled to second-degree assault, but I think they took the lower range of it.
Yeah, that's what they'll do if you plead.
The worst time I ever spent was in Denny Youth Center.
On that charge?
On that charge, by far. Because when you're in Denny as a assault, or if you're a danger, you're like 23 and 1. 23 in your cell, 1 out. Like I didn't get to go, like most kids when they're in juvenile, they get to go to school every day, get to be out of their cell. Not me, I just stayed in my cell the whole time. And
why is that?
Because you're a danger. I'm in there with like 14-year-old kids and I just beat the living, I mean.
I see.
But I don't know. I've never been the type of person just to assault somebody.
Yeah.
I just think that's really weak. Even if you're big and tough and you're the toughest guy in the world, but just to go and beat up somebody that's...
Well, and also as a fighter, like, you don't need to prove it against just fucking schmucks.
Yeah.
That dude bumped into you and challenged you. And as a fighter, of course you're going to do that, you know?
It's funny. I tell my son now, my oldest Kai, I'm like, hey, if somebody ever gets loud with you, don't worry. You know, you can fight them. But if anybody ever goes up to you and is like, yeah, okay, let's just do this, me and you.
That's a motherfucker right there.
I'm like, hey, don't do anything with him. He's like, why, Dad? And I'm like, because, I mean, and you know, it sucks to say this, but I know my son. My son's not a killer. He's not like...
He doesn't have that wild Andrew in him?
No. My brother does. Victor, my mom does. Like, it's weird, like, my mom, when she gets angry, she gets this look in her eyes. Like, she can... To this day, I've never been scared of anybody. I'm scared of my mother.
I am fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah, I think my fighting rules come from her too, because anything goes. Remote controller, boom. Fucking Nintendo controller, just whipping it around. Like for me, when a street fight, face to face, you can't cheap shot somebody. Like I remember we were at a party one time. One of our friends cheap shot somebody, and I just hated it.
Oh yeah. I know what story you're talking about.
God, I was just angry. Like I can't handle that when somebody hits somebody from the side.
And didn't you get fucking stabbed that night?
Yes, I did.
Okay. See, dude, like this is fucking Snohomish, dude.
Yeah, that fight I lost it. Like I was mad because Kai was in Tony's stomach at that time, and for some reason, just something snapped in me. Like I was like, God, he could have killed me. My son wouldn't have had a father. And I just ran down that hill and just pummeled that motherfucker. That's what went through my head when I looked at my hand. I was like, fuck, I could have been dead.
And bro, I remember that fight because I had just gotten out of the military.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I went back in, but so I would be 22 then. So yeah, that makes sense. That was when you started to fucking, I mean, is that about then when you started to go down some bad paths?
I think when I started to go down some bad paths that was right about that then, because like I said, there's a couple things that I really held to me as a core person. One of them was being a good father. And as you get older in relationships, you realize that just you showing, like me and Tony, we had our own past and stuff, and she wasn't the easiest person to have a kid with, but at the same time, I wasn't the best partner.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been a good partner to any woman that I've been with until the last 2 years, because I've never been open, never been completely available to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So Kai at that point was with his mom, and for me personally, as a father, I knew we didn't have jack shit. I didn't want my kid growing up living in apartment to apartment and not having anything. So I just put everything that I used to fight into plumbing. Like, literally, I know it sounds stupid. It's just a job, but I took plumbing as, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the best at it. And it was piecework plumbing. So you got paid for what you did. You can go from literally being an apprentice to being a journeyman and however long you want to make it. And I got into a van in 7 months, and I never came home. I'd work till 12 o'clock at night sometimes, and she didn't like it. And to me, I was just like, all I'm doing is working, but I wasn't being a good partner. I wasn't there for her during pregnancy, which is might get me in trouble. But women are we know this. Women are fucking crazy when they're pregnant. They're insecure.
Yeah.
Tony was insecure to begin with, but that just took it to a next level.
No, like you see women on Instagram taking like photos, like beauty shots while they're pregnant. Because I have 3 fucking kids, and I think insecure is probably one of the best ways to describe women, because the body that they've always had, the body they've always known, is now changing, and now they're doubting if they're pretty anymore. They're doubting if you find them attractive, and it just goes on and on and on, dude.
You just look at Facebook or anything nowadays with how they use their filters and stuff, and I think it's really sad. Like,
no,
honestly,
it is, bro.
Like, you're beautiful the way you are.
Yep.
You don't need to be, and if somebody doesn't accept you for that,
that's on them.
That's on them, So me and Tony started to have a rough time, and like literally not having my kid, like when we went through the separation and everything and not having my kid in the house, I drank a lot.
How old was your boy when you guys separated?
He was 5, 6 months.
Okay. So little baby.
Yeah. Little baby. And I started drinking a lot. Like Aaron Mitchell moved in, and we'd go to work till like 8 o'clock at night and then drink till 3 o'clock in the morning, get up and do it all over again. Uh-huh. And to me, I've always been able to hold a job no matter what, because I got that work ethic from Eric. Mm-hmm. And that's how I would never let that go away, because that's how I identified myself as a worker. I'm going to put in the work no matter what. And that got me through that. Like, I drink and then me and Tony reconciled. Sorry, sometimes I have ADHD of the brain, but we reconciled when he was around 3, and quit drinking for like a year. Got back in the gym and not fighting, but working out. And me and her were doing pretty good, but then we separated again. And then everything was going good up until this Father's Day, like a Father's Day thing. Because she always, I felt like she always used Kai to control situations, used my son against me, because that's the only way you could really hurt me. Like, she could go sleep with somebody and I wouldn't care, But it was a real toxic relationship. Looking back, it's just really, me and her shouldn't have been together. But Father's Day, she said that Kai had plans the day before, and I wanted to take him to a Mariners game. It wasn't my scheduled time. And then we were supposed to meet at King Charlie. She didn't show up with him and go out to her house. She's sleeping, and come to find out, Kai spent the night at her mother's house. And I was pissed. Like, I was like, we're going to court to settle the other thing. And family court's one of the most fucked up things there is. To have somebody tell you what, especially with men in Washington.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up. I wasn't the greatest partner, but I was a good dad up until that point. Mm-hmm. I was there for my son. I changed him. When he had weekends with me, he was well taken care of. I kind of get it at this point. Now that I've had full custody of my kids, you don't know what's going on when the kids aren't with you. And it scares the shit out of me. When Ashley was going through her stuff, even though she was around her parents, I still had, I was worried about my kids.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what Tony's thinking. My son's with me. We're out fucking at bars fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Looking back, but you gotta really put yourself in someone else's shoes, which you should really try to do with every aspect in your life once in a while. Not only get focused on what your wants and your needs, and think about what somebody else is going through. So at that point, though, I lost being a father, and
That's where spiraling started.
yeah, and I lost a fight. I lost a fight for Kai. Like, two big things that I hold dear. I'm going to win any fight I'm in. I didn't win the court battle, and I lost my son. You know, I was a weekend dad and worked, and I wish at that point I would have had a father or would have had somebody that could have been. This is a real dangerous point in your life, but I didn't have anybody. I didn't really have anybody. And maybe I did, maybe I had friends, but I'm horrible at reaching out to people. I never thought that was an option.
Well, and friendship and mentorship is different too. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like it sounds like at that point in your time, a mentor would have been someone that you needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, totally. Not only that, but
because what's Darren gonna do right there?
Oh,
you guys are gonna go out and drink beer.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
I needed an honest to God like father, or like you said, a mentor.
Yeah.
And Eric's always been a mentor. Maybe I should have gone to him, but I always, anybody I ever went to and really depended on let me down. They always did. So at that point, I'm 25. I have a really good job, making good money, paying child support. But I started to feel sorry for myself. I started to make the biggest mistake everybody always makes. Start to feel sorry for yourself.
Dude, I talk about it all the time. Telling yourself a sad story is the most fucking dangerous thing you can do.
Yeah. I started to be like, fuck, I did everything right. To myself, I felt like I did, but there's a lot more I could have done.
Yeah.
You know?
But then it becomes a poor me.
Yeah.
You know?
The worst thing you can do. And I'm like, I'm pretty much my dad right now. I don't have my kid, and I just drink. And like I said, if somebody would have grabbed me and said, hey, this is only going to be 2 years of your life, okay? You can get more visitation. Even if you don't, you have to be a good father for this kid. You can't just do the me and be the little child and go off and party on weekends and do whatever you want to, and you don't have them. You got to be a father full time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. If you're a father or whatever you do, it's all the time. It's full time job. So wasn't drinking. Went down to Seattle. Me and Tony got in a fight and met up with this girl and ended up going back to their place, doing blow all night. And in the morning, did heroin for the first time.
What? I mean, how does that even happen, though? You know what I mean?
I know, right? Like,
I've thought about that a lot because someone that's never went down that path, and I know how fucking I know what a good person you are. I know how disciplined you are, but I guess just
how's it happen?
You were in emotional shambles, huh?
I was tired. I was tired of the pressure of maybe me putting on myself.
I
didn't want anything at that point. I just wanted to blow it all up. I talked to Stefan the other day about this, and I'll remind me to revisit this later on, but I have a tendency of just wanting to blow shit up and rebuild it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm really great out of the gate, but just staying with something, it comes from boredom. I get really fucking bored, and drinking always helped me with not getting bored.
I see.
Not so much heroin, but drinking's a real tough thing for me. If I drink, I just can get bored and get repetitive, and yeah. So
you did heroin for the first time.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because I imagine it must be the greatest fucking thing in the world for people to throw their lives away for it. But can you even articulate it? I mean, people ask what being on mushrooms is like. You can't articulate it.
Being on mushrooms is way better than being on heroin.
But
on heroin, you just do it, and it's kind of, you can just relax, and you don't have anything going through your head. Pretty much you just go to bed, the first couple times you do it, but you're just sitting there in your whole body. Well, you've taken painkillers, haven't you? You've been in the hospital when you got...
I've had a couple surgeries and shit, and because I'm afraid, I think I'm a very highly addictive person. I've flushed those.
Yeah.
And just gritted it out because I don't want to fucking deal with that. It scares me.
People think addiction is you being addicted to the drug. I think it's a concoction of what's going on in your life at that point. What's going on in your life when you first do heroin? If what was going on in my life when I first did heroin was me being happy and having successful, and me just going into the hospital and them giving me a shot of heroin, and then me walking away and going back to my life. But I had nothing to do with my spare time at that time besides go to work. So I'd go to work and not have anything to do after. And so I did my first shot of heroin. Don't do it for 3 months. And then the unaccountable me could blame it on Rocky Coleman, but the accountable me, it's me the whole time. Bump into Rocky Coleman. Rocky's like, I'm like, hey, how you doing, buddy? He's like, oh, I'm not doing too good. I've been addicted to this heroin. I'm like, oh, wow, I did that a little while ago. He's like, oh, you have? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you ever shot it up? I'm like, yeah. And literally set me up. Just was like, you're going to get it from me now. I know that's what he was thinking, is like, Andrew's got money. Because being in the dope, like around drug addicts, they always have somebody that's like a benefactor.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I got out of jail the first time, my mom was the benefactor for like fucking 10 drug addicts. When I got out of jail, went home, tried to reconcile with her, be like, Mom, I know we've had a really fucked up past. This is my second time in jail. I was like, I know we've had a fucked up past, but we can figure this out. She wouldn't even open the door. She had like 10 people in there, just house destroyed, fucking. And I would go, get these people out of here. We'll come back and we can, try to make this work. I get back, my shit's on the front lawn, and there's a note saying your uncle and grandmother don't want you to live here, And I call my uncle like 3 days later because I had no place to stay, nothing. And he's like, I never said that. You can stay at one of the apartments right now. And start training again. This is before I fought Ed and before that. But, like I say, I never went to people for help because like I have these situations that just come up in my mind when I ask somebody for help. My mom I had nothing. And she threw my shit on the front porch and just said, get the fuck out of here, pretty much. So 25, and where were we at in the story?
I want to stick with the heroin.
Okay, stick with that.
Yeah, because
okay.
But you went from, you tried it.
And
then
I did it with Rocky, and this is what happened. So I do it like once every weekend. It was the weekends when I wouldn't have Kai. Now that I revisit it,
okay,
I wouldn't have Kai, be feeling shitty.
So it was just a intermittent thing, just to kind of detach and relax.
Yep,
sounds like. Yep. Or put all the stresses out of your mind.
Yep, just to not think, because literally when I
doing it. Let me ask you this: doing it intermittently like that, did you feel an addiction?
No.
Okay, no. So you could just do it when you wanted to, and it wasn't like, didn't have its fucking hooks in you yet.
Nope. And I would literally do it whenever I dropped Kai off. I'd go through this deep depression, just like feeling sorry for myself. If I could have had,
because you wouldn't see him again for a week or two, right?
It was every other weekend and every Wednesday for an hour. But every Wednesday for an hour is nothing.
That doesn't even count. Yeah. And so, because I've heard a lot of stories where people take their first shot and then they're like, you're fucking hooked.
I don't think so.
And that wasn't it for you at all, huh?
It was. Well, I guess it depends on how many highs you've had in your life. To me, being on top of the ring, like fucking, you just knock somebody out. You're like, yeah. That's way better than a shot of dope by 10 times. Or fucking going 180 on a bike is way better than doing a shot of dope.
Well, I know we're going down different rabbit holes, but I remember when we were fucking 16, everywhere you went in your little red truck was 105 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
everywhere.
If all you do is play video games and sit on your couch all the time, doing a shot of dope is probably like fucking climbing K2 for you. You know what I mean? But for me, it was just something to detach and get my mind off of where I was at in life.
So as it progressed, then did it ever feel like I fucking need this?
Yes.
Okay.
Once I became physically addicted, there was this weekend where I had like 5 straight days off, and I got dope like the first 3 days of it. And by the 4th day, I got up to get up in the morning and felt like I had the flu. And fucking Rocky called me. He was like, hey, do you need anything more? Because I'd already picked up like twice. And I'm like, no, I'm just really sick. He goes, you're just dope sick, dude. And I'm like,
hey, like no big deal. Yeah. Just fucking shoot some more.
And I was like, what do you mean dope sick? He's like, you're just sick. And I'm like, all right, I guess so. He brought some, I felt better instantly.
Whoa.
Like I wasn't throwing up or anything. So then come to go back to work on Monday, I started feeling sick again. And that was it.
So then you had to shoot, you felt, just to go to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, nobody really knew what was going on at that point.
So you could shoot dope and then go plumb all day?
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of gnarly,
dude. The whole thing.
Because I mean, I've dealt with addicts as a police officer a lot, and a lot of times, like, it's like nobody's even fucking home. They're on the nod. You can't have a coherent conversation
Well,
with
that's
them.
because the main thing with them is they're probably haven't done it for a little while. You know, as a bum, you're not going to have constant accessibility to dope.
I see what you're saying. So you would
They were probably sick for 3 days and finally got that shot, and then
just
they're sick. Yeah.
So you were making enough money and you were financially well off enough that you could just dose it enough to not be sick.
Well, I would do shit tons amounts of dope. So, not shit tons to everybody else, but I had constant resources to be able to do it every single day and to be able to keep up with my habit. And would I nod for the first half hour? Probably yes, if I did a big enough shot, but I would do a small enough shot to where I just felt well, go to work, get off, then I would get my nod on. Like I'd take a bath, take a big shot, and go to bed, and just do it all over again. Like for 2 years, I did that just straight.
That's so fucking gnarly.
But
so I want to know, dude, what did you feel, both like physically, mentally, emotionally, all that for those 2 years of your life being addicted to heroin?
But 2 years is when I got clean for the first time. I was addicted to heroin from 25 to like 32, like 7 years.
Oh shit!
In and out of methadone clinics. I remember that when I first started doing dope, me and Nathan Tout and Chuck Clifford, BJ's brother, went and did a job over in Eastern Washington, and I had an 8-ball, I think, somewhere around there, to go over there and get this job done. About second day in, I think one of my a needle broke or something, but I remember being like, Nathan, you got to drive me into the Walgreens. And I was sick.
Did everybody know what you were up to, or you kept it on the wraps?
Nathan was the first person that really knew.
Okay.
And
that was 2 years in?
It's about 8 months to
8 months, okay.
You know, the timeline gets a little fucked up when you're doing drugs because you're just going through this fucking emptiness because all you are is really empty.
So were you able to, if you were able to continuously maintain a job, were you able to maintain just all the other normal aspects of life, like paying your bills, your hygiene, like the stuff that...
No, not that stuff at all. All that stuff is, you're just going through the motions to keep your job and be able to have enough to have a dope and just survive.
Because that's what I talk about all the time. People, when you drive through Seattle and you see the tents and there's just filth and garbage everywhere.
Hygiene's the first thing to go.
Okay. It's not a homeless problem.
I'll be honest with you. Like there's times where I didn't shower for 2 weeks.
That's fucking gnarly, dude.
And you don't even think about it. Like when you're a kid, you wake up in the morning, you take a shower. And that's probably the best thing about getting into rehab and stuff is they make you get up in the morning, take a shower. And you'd be surprised.
You're getting clean both physically, or I should say like you're literally getting clean as you get clean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And bro, like the smell of homeless drug addict, it's forever seared in my fucking brain because as a police officer, I dealt with it every single day. And I used to think it's like, how can anyone live in this state?
Dude,
like you can't even stand next to them. It's so fucking pungent.
That's the thing with all these liberals. They think they're doing them a favor by letting them live this way. They don't even know they're living this way.
Yeah, really? Yeah, they're in a hell. They are living in hell right now.
Yeah. Like my son will come up to me and be like, Dad, why don't you give these homeless people money? And it's like, it's not going to do them any good. Plus it's making them less than me. Like I look at it like that. When you give why would I give somebody something? It's because I feel like they're less than me.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
They're not less than me. They can
earn it.
They can earn it.
Yeah.
They're just as good as me.
So then 7 years addicted to heroin, was there like an ebb and flow to it? Or did you just kind of find your rhythm and you'd shoot up in the morning and shoot up at night? Or was there like constant progression to how much you needed or...
The thing about opiates is your tolerance. Like I remember before I did heroin, I did a 5 milligram tab of methadone, and I was out on the couch at Jaron, Aaron, Paul, and who else lived there? Well, Jaron lived there, Aaron Mitchell lived there, and Paul Williams lived there before he started kind of going a little crazy and sitting on the couch throwing up. After everything's said and done, when I went to the clinic my last time, it took me 160 milligrams just to be well all day and not be throwing up. I mean, 5 milligrams puts me out for a day throwing up. and then 160 just keeps me normal. And then that's the night and day.
Yeah,
of how tolerance
that's
can go.
how fucking high your tolerance would become.
Yeah. So back to when I started, Nathan Tout were there, and I didn't have a needle. We go into Walgreens, and I'm just shit. I'm so sick. I didn't want to wait till I got back to the house to find a place to shoot up. So I was like, fuck it. Just did it right there. I started cooking. Nathan looks at me. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, dude, I'm a heroin addict. And he just was like, looked at me like, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
Like, I try to reconcile with Nate sometimes, and I don't know. I feel really bad because he was always such a good friend. His family did so much for me. It's funny. After this, I'm going to his older brother Ryan's house to go look at his water line after we get out of here.
Yeah. But bro, that's Addict 101 is like burning bridges and destroying relationships because the drug comes before anything else.
Yeah. I feel like, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I didn't burn too many bridges. I don't feel like I stole from my friends or.
Well, I guess
I stole me from them.
The way that you were able to maintain your job is very unique in the world of addicts. But I guess that probably is the foundational element of all the bridges being burned, is because you do become a thief. And then you, like, I've had other friends, like jiu-jitsu training partners that became addicted, and you get the craziest story, bro, like my paycheck's not coming till Monday, and then I just got notified my cell phone's going to get shut off. I just need $20 and then I can run up to the T-Mobile store. And it's like, everything you're telling me is a fucking lie right now. Yeah. So now you're lying to me and you're stealing from me. Like,
my mom was like that.
That's not going to make friendships work very well. But if you were able to sustain your own habit on your own.
So let's get to the market crash.
Okay.
So I was plumbing, right? And I was making good money, paying my bills. There was times where I didn't pay my bill. Like, say, for instance, my insurance stuff, that stuff all went to the wayside. Just paying basic living needs, rent, food, etc. So the market crashes, jobs out the window. And
building just came to a fucking standstill, huh?
Yep. Everything went downhill. And as a piecework plumber, I didn't have my journeyman card yet. So I'd call shops and be like, hey, like, do you have your card? I'm like, no, but I can plumb 4 houses in a week for you. They didn't want to hear it. So I ended up moving in back to my uncle's. And at this point.
And you're what, 28 or something?
Ah, God. Those years are such a...
That's right. Well, the market crash was 2008, so...
Yeah, between 2007 and 2009.
Okay.
So let's just go with 2008. So, move into my uncle's apartment, start doing maintenance for him. But I get really tired of waiting around for Rocky to get dope. Like, literally, I'd still be getting dope from Rocky Coleman if he wasn't such a lazy fucking dope dealer.
You're putting fucking people on blast today.
So I was like, fuck it. You know, I'm just going to fucking take my unemployment check and go buy a fucking ounce of dope. So I went and bought an ounce of dope and knew a couple people and started dealing dope. Like, literally, for about 1.5 to 2 years, I was dealing 24 ounces of heroin every week, somewhere around there. I would never, ever...
Are you doing this to make money, or are you doing it just to pinch enough off the top to sustain your habit?
To sustain my habit and just to somewhat live comfortably. I wasn't out buying cars or anything like that. It was mainly just to sustain my habit. You know, like, but by then, my habit was a quarter an ounce a day.
Which I really don't even know what that means,
Between
but
me
that
and
means
Ashley,
a lot. Huh?
Between me and Ashley, we would go through around 9 grams a day. So
when you and Ashley got together, was she already an addict?
Yeah.
Did you guys meet through the drug world then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I had been dealing to one of her friends, and Ashley came over and was like, why are you single? And I was like, you know, I wasn't hearing it. Like, when you're on dope, you have no sexual, like really want.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, totally no. Like, you're just...
Your desire's dope then.
Yeah, everything's dope. Everything, just your whole habit. Like, you'll see these people, like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Devil and The Devil I Know or whatever, but it shows this, or even like addiction shows where it'll show the codependency of addicts. Like, they'll have a girl with them. I guarantee they don't sleep together ever.
Okay.
Rarely ever.
Because methamphetamine's the opposite. Like you do, when I was a cop, if you do anything related to like a methamphetamine search warrant, there's porn and dildos and fucking
totally.
sex toys everywhere.
There's like this website for gay guys that do meth together. It's like called Glass Ass or some shit like that.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to know how you know that.
No, I just made up the Glass Ass thing. Okay. But it's well known that fucking gay guys like to do fucking meth and fuck each other.
Yeah. No, I mean meth addicts it's hyper sexual.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that heroin's the opposite. It just kills the sex drive, huh?
Totally. And so, but we met and doing dope together. And this whole time, you know what's fucked up, what really plays a mind fuck with you is this whole time I'm having Kai like every other weekend, you know, and I would try not to do dope when he was with me. But by the end of the weekend, I would be so sick.
You'd have to.
Yeah.
Man, what a fucked up place to be in, especially like going back to your whole goal as a man is to be a good father.
Yep.
That was like a life mission.
At that point, though, like you really don't really realize what the fuck is going on in your life. Like you don't have any accountability.
Did you ever just have that? So, I mean, I guess you kind of answered it saying you didn't have accountability. And that doesn't even mean to other people, but to yourself. But did you ever just walk into the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what the fuck are you doing?
No, because the thing is with dope, it almost takes all the emotions out of you. Like you're just here. Like, okay. I remember winning like $1,000 on a scratch ticket. Just a little blip. Uh-huh. And I remember fucking getting a blood clot and being in the hospital for a week. Little blip down. Nothing like this.
So there's not really highs and lows. It's just you're just in a fucking neutral state.
Neutral state, just killing time. And I think the biggest thing is boredom. Like dope made it easy for me to deal with the boredom.
What about your body? Did your body go to shit?
Yeah, totally.
Because I mean, you were always a very, very high level athlete. Did you stop eating clean, stop working out, and just
all that stuff just goes away? You know, you just don't. It's not important to you. And to be honest, the dope. I wouldn't even say the dope's really that important to you. You just have no wants or no needs. You're just this fucking pile of shit. Uh-huh. And if I would have had somebody to be able to tell me that, but
well, one thing you always hear addicts say is that you can't get better until you're ready to help yourself.
Yes.
And so, I mean, if that's the case, is somebody else grabbing a hold of you and saying, hey, fucking listen to me. You need to hear from my perspective what I'm watching you do and what you're becoming. I mean, do you still think that there's power to that?
I think there's power in getting somebody to the point to where they're not physically addicted and then doing that.
So like, and I've said before, like if this was my daughter, I'm going to literally abduct her and take her out into the fucking woods for a week. Or is that kind of what you're saying? Something like that?
Like 2 months.
2 months?
Because when they're physically addicted, you can't really do anything to them.
How long is it before the actual physical addiction is no longer present? Is that what you're saying? 2 months or so?
I'd say about 2 months. So for me to finally get clean, like I said, I was dealing dope and went to jail.
Well, that was my next question. Living that life, you're getting hemmed up, you're getting arrested. Like that shit has to be happening, right?
It didn't happen. So funny thing, you talk about infringement on rights, right? And how you can't do that to somebody because it's going to ruin their life. I'm walking out of, just got done spending like $250 on Kai for Christmas. I'm walking out with a bunch of gifts. Everett Police Department comes up to me, says, hey, stop, let me see your ID. I had just dropped off 2 ounces to somebody. Actually, it was a switch out. And I had a pretty good dope guy back then. He was, if we didn't like the dope, he would change it back out.
So what was their reason for the stop?
They said I matched the description of somebody that was aggressively panhandling. But me in my mind, I was thinking I just got set up. But
well, maybe they were watching you and undercover and all the shit was going down, you know?
Come to find out, no. I matched the description of somebody that was aggressively panhandling.
Oh, okay.
So, but I mean, I was dressed in normal clothes, but I guess these two guys were going around Toys R Us and just being like, hey.
Give me money.
Yeah. And which is funny because nowadays you can smoke dope right there on the road and the fucking cops won't do anything.
Yeah.
But the police officers, like, can we see your ID? I knew I had a warrant. I had a warrant for not going to court on a driving unsuspended.
Which is what all addicts have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, and it honestly, So I had another ounce in my, what's it called? My sweatshirt pocket. I knew I had it. Ashley was coming out of Petco, getting some food for the animals. And she saw me stop by the cops, and I was trying to give her my sweatshirt. And the cop grabbed the sweatshirt and just patted it down when she gave it to him, and found the ounce, and got arrested that night. My supplier got me bailed out, but
Dude, your supplier bailed you out, huh?
yeah,
I didn't know shit like that happened in the drug world.
I didn't have access to my money. I paid him right back right away. At that time, I always had around 10 to 15,000 just sitting around, not spending money, but just re-up money, because that's how I did. You have to have money to re-up to keep going.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So, got bailed out, and I had Kai that weekend, so I went and picked him up. And the day in, Tony found out I got arrested. So she said, "Hey, I just want to come over and give Kai his Christmas present." And came over, grabbed him, and I was inside. Ashley was outside. Ashley came back in. She goes, "She just took him." And I go, "What the fuck?"
Did she put together that you were using? Okay.
She knew. I mean, she honestly knew I was using at that time. She must have. There's just no way she couldn't have. I saw more of Kai at that time in my life than I did when I was sober.
But I mean, there was something that triggered her to be like, my kid can't be around this motherfucker anymore.
At that point, I was really pissed off. But looking back right now,
makes sense.
Yeah, like I said, I was not thinking straight.
Yeah.
So, ended up going through court. Yada yada yada. William Steffner, who wrestled 2 years above us, ended up being my lawyer, because I remember him from being on the wrestling posters. And I was like, "You're William Steffner." And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, yeah, I wrestled too." And he got me a pretty good bargain. I got work release. At that point, I had gotten a job again, gotten a work release, quit doing drugs, went through the methadone program. By the time I was out, I was clean.
So
I was down to like 15 milligrams. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, like you said you got clean. Was it because of, okay, I lost my kid, I'm in jail now? Was that kind of
It wasn't because of losing my kid.
Okay.
First.
What triggered that change?
Me going to jail. Me being locked up. Me being forced to kind of get my mindset and get clean.
So even though you got work release, how long were you in custody before that was all sorted out?
1 day.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Because I got bailed out.
Yeah, got it. That's right.
So, but before I went into jail, I got on the methadone program, and there's going to be fucking people that have a problem with people being on the methadone program, saying, "Why are we giving these people drugs?" This or the other thing. The methadone program is probably one of the only ways to really get people clean, besides locking them up for 2 months. But the way the methadone program, like with any government or anything ran, it's all about money. Yeah. It's not about the actual end product, about getting people clean. So if you had a methadone program set up where there's a time limit and there's an actual structure to it, but there's people at the methadone clinic that have been there for 20 years.
Yeah, so it's just a new way of sustaining addiction.
Yeah, new way of sustaining addiction. Not only that, but it's money for the people that they can get their handouts from the federal government to be like, "Hey, we need this because these addicts need it." And they really don't. What they need is a program and some accountability. So I went to there, got clean. Me and Tony went back to court. And I cannot remember feeling lower at any point in my life than after we got out of court. Because I went in there, I thought it was going to be about the drug addiction because I had proved that I gotten clean. And it wasn't. She brought up how bad of a partner I was, how bad of a father I was, which, to be honest with you, I'm really honest, okay? I was a piece of shit drug addict for a long time, real piece of shit. But I was a good father before then. Mm-hmm. Just a horrible partner. I was not a good partner. And to have a judge tell me that I'm not going to see my boy except supervised visits, and that I had more rights when I was dealing drugs and living a really fucked up life, that I got to see more of my kid then than I do now. At that point, I still should have had some accountability, though, and been like, fuck, I made some really mistakes. Maybe if I just do the right thing for a while, I'll get my life back to where I want it to be.
But that's not what happened, huh?
That's not what happened. So 6 months in, 7 months in. Oh, by the way, Ashley's pregnant with a Syat this time. Funny story. So we're in work release, right? There happens to be a porta potty on the way to my job site where she drops me off every day. So my second boy was conceived in a handicapped porta potty.
Jesus Christ. That's some fucking trashy shit, dude.
Yeah. Well, you gotta do what you gotta do. So it's like Shoreline 175th right there, you know, that elementary school.
Yeah.
We would get out, we'd walk the dogs every morning. I'd get out of work really early and then so.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah. I love that guy though. If it wasn't for that porta potty, so I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, there you go. So, and so you were out or you were on the methadone thing for 6 or 7 months, and then the wheels fell off.
So no, I was still doing it. Like I was down to 15 milligrams, right, and doing great. And what happened was, I went to a Seahawks game, got shit faced, went to the clinic on Friday to get my doses. And they wouldn't give me my doses because I blew like on the thing, and they're afraid like you're gonna overdose if you had alcohol. Oh,
because you had alcohol in your system.
Yep. So they didn't give me my dose for the whole weekend. So I was out there, and I was like, God, anybody got any free doses, or can I buy a dose from somebody? Ran into Cal, which is like the new Rocky. Another guy that's just waiting to give somebody dope so they can fucking get money themselves. And sorry, that's the addict of me not being accountable. Really, I was just being a piece of shit again.
Yeah.
So, but got the methadone from him about 3 months in. Went over there to get some methadone, extra methadone at that point, and he had heroin. And was like, hey, you want to do some heroin? And back on the fucking roller coaster I go. So, Saya's probably about 4. And Ava's on the way when I finally decided to quit doing heroin, shooting dope. And got back into the clinic, went there, was there for about 3 years, maybe 2 years. No, Ava was 1 when I quit the clinic. So went there for like another year, and finally decided to get off methadone. And at that point, I was still drinking, still doing, I wasn't sober. I was still using in my aspect. I wasn't the old Andrew Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Ashley are together. She starts using again. And it's weird. Like I relapsed before she did, and I was using for like 2 years, and then got clean. And she had relapsed, and I kind of saw it, and we had talks about it, but it's really hard for me to hold her accountable when I was just a piece of shit too.
Yeah.
And
her timeline on getting better was just different than yours.
Yeah. But she got clean for an aspect when I wasn't clean too. And it's so weird when you're an addict, you just know when someone's lying to you about it. Like, you'll see a homeless person, they'll come up to me, and I'll give a homeless person money sometimes. I will. But I'll make them listen to my story. Like, I'll be like, hey, what's going on in your life? This, that, or the other thing. And I'll be like, go ahead and go.
So that's how they earn it. Because I remember you're saying you want them to earn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, you're going to have to sit here and listen to this, and, talk to them about the clinic or whatever, this, that, or the. Dude, I saw a 16-year-old kid at Fast Eddie's. No hope in the world. Nobody. He's not going to have an Eric Wiseman. He's not going to have anybody to teach him anything. And the system's really letting him down by not arresting him and not giving him somebody to get him out of that. But got really clean. You talk about really clean and changing my life 2.5 to 3 years ago when I went through another failed relationship. Me and Ashley. Ashley's addicted. So now, great, my kids have a father, but they don't have a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I let them down in that aspect. I still wasn't living the life I wanted to live.
You're saying even after you got clean?
Even after I got clean.
So I want to know though, like what was the final straw 2.5 years ago that's like, okay, I've been battling this for 7 years. I've been off, I've been on, and it's fucking over now.
Introspective. Really some self-accountability, self-evaluation, looking at myself, and really getting back to who I was growing up, right around 14 to 16 when we go through puberty, and maybe you didn't feel this, but up until the age of about 30, I felt like I really lost myself. Mm-hmm. I lost who I was as a person. You know, I became a fighter, this other thing. That's part of my core values, but I didn't do it for the right reasons. You know, I wasn't really doing it because it's what made me, a lot of it, I did it because it's what came natural to me. But a lot of it, I did it from needing acceptance from other people.
Yeah.
It was the way I got accepted and the way I was known, you know, but really me as a person, I wanted to be a father. And somehow I lost what really being a father is about, you know, which is accountability, teaching them how to live a proper life and being there for them. I mean, I'm not saying you can't be a great father by being a world champion fighter, but you're not going to give them, I mean, you're not going to be there 24/7 for them.
Yeah.
Maybe their life looks a little bit different, but
still, what was that catalyst that made you say, I'm putting this behind me now? Do you even know? I mean, was there a moment in time, or was it just kind of a slow realization that this is no longer sustainable?
It was like that. Like literally, I sat down and I thought about it because I was like, how am I here again? How the fuck does this happen again? You know, I know this isn't where I want to be in life. And I was like, I'm going to write some shit down. Literally, I took a notepad and wrote, because I'm real good at math. Like, I've always been really good at math. Me and Jen Hine were like in Mr. Wagner's class. I didn't have to take math.
Shout out, Jen Hine.
I really wouldn't have had to take math after my freshman year if I didn't want to in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote down when I was doing good in life, when I was doing bad in life. And I think writing shit down is a big thing for everybody. You know, because when you, especially if you have ADHD or a brain like mine, shit can go rattle around there forever and it's pointless because it just goes from one point to the next and you're never building really anything.
It kind of sets it in stone.
Yeah. So I wrote everything down and I looked at things that when my life was good and what made me happy, part of it was working out. Part of it had nothing to do with drinking. And writing it down on paper really brought it to realization of, hey, you're a piece of shit right now. You're not living the life you want to live. And I have to quit drinking, get back in the gym, and take some steps to get my life back in order. But writing it down was a big thing for me. And actually looking at it in paper and then having some accountability and looking at things that got me to this situation, like not opening up. So about 3 months after I got my life back together, I thought about being in relationships and how to rebuild relationships. And I thought about, have I ever had a real relationship with a woman? And I haven't. I've never had it up until, me and Ashley were split up, I met somebody else. And it was the first time I was ever really open with anybody, ever really shared, stuff that happened to me when I was a kid. Like my father, that type of stuff, and really was honest. And finally, like I felt like I had a communication with somebody. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just me about having sex with them and, because most women up until that point just tagged along for the Andrew ride. Like I never really opened up and cared about their wants, their needs, or anything like that. It was, I cared about their needs in some aspects. Yeah. But as far as, are they happy? I never really computed with me.
And so, like, as you started to come to these realizations, was it, like you said, it was just a moment in time where you said, okay, I'm done with this?
Yeah.
But what did that journey look like then once you made that decision?
It happened pretty fast. Like, you know me, I'm disciplined.
Yeah.
So when I decided to change something, I'm going to do it. But the thing that helped me about writing it down was it being right in my face. And I hate those fucking things. So,
Jesus Christ. That fire alarm just got ripped out of the ceiling and thrown out of the room.
I know, like you'll take the batteries out and it still keeps going.
Kept fucking chirping. Like, what the fuck is that, dude?
It's because it's wired.
Well, fuck that thing.
Yeah. If you get burned anyways, you don't want to live. You're going to be ugly. No one's going to like you. Yeah. So just get it over with.
All right. Well, it's out of the room now. Sorry about that.
So, but yeah, like you'd think whenever I'd feel like during that time, whenever I'd feel like I was going to go back, I'd break out that piece of paper. I literally kept it in my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like accountability. This is how I want my life to be. This is what I'm going to do to get there. And it helped me a lot in that first 3 months. And then I started doing it with other things in my life. I just had a talk with Stefan a little while ago about having some problems again, and went home that night, wrote some things down, and got recentered. Writing stuff down for me is a big thing now, because if not, I can trick myself in, like with anything, I can trick myself into believing anything. Like I think it's about a year ago now, I called Stefan and I was like, hey, I really want to find my dad. So he's like, and I had this long conversation with him about it. And he's like, I don't know if it's a good idea. You know, what do you have to gain from this? Is it going to better your life in any way? And I tricked myself into thinking that it would be a good idea. But before that, I literally tricked myself into thinking he wasn't even, like 2 days prior to that, I talked to Ashley and I was completely honest with her about stuff that I'd lied to so many people about, because it made it easy for me. One of the hardest things for me growing up was the realization that my dad doesn't give a shit about me.
Mm-hmm.
He's never going to give a shit about me. And that's just the way it is.
So you went through all this shit. You're clean now.
Yep.
You're what, 39 years old or 38 years old? 38?
Somewhere around there.
When was the last time you talked to your dad? When you were a little boy?
When I was 11. I went and spent the summer with him, and at the airport, like when I was leaving, he goes, I'll see you again. You know, I'll call you when you get there. Never heard from him again.
So did you end up linking back up with him?
So fast forward, like, I think we're 22, 23, and I have Kai.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him born, I just thought to myself, like, what the fuck did I do? There's no way I could ever leave this kid. You know, we were just talking about that guy walking in here about just moving to another state.
Yeah.
Tony would have moved to Florida. I would have moved to Florida, even though I didn't see him, you know. But you living states away from your kid, you might as well write off your relationship right then and there, you know.
For sure. Yeah.
If you're moving out of state, you're not really
100%, dude. Like I have some friends that have done that, or I know some kids on my jiu-jitsu team whose dads did that. And it's like, don't act like you're going to be a father anymore if you move to fucking Arizona.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, you know?
You're putting literally, you know, you're making it such an inconvenience to even being in their life or for them to be in your life, you know? So around 24, I just said, fuck it, he's dead.
Okay.
And I started literally telling, like, you know how Eric would be like, just tell yourself you're going to win this fight. You know, and mentally. So about 3 months later, I told Aaron Mitchell that he's dead. I told him that he died. And then I told my fucking, what's it called? My employer at the time, he's dead. And within like 2 years, he was dead.
Just became reality in your brain.
Became reality in my brain. Didn't exist anymore. I had no emotions anymore. I wasn't like, whenever I felt like shit, it never popped up and like, I wonder what my dad's doing.
So when you're 38 now and you have that inclination to look him up again, did you go through with that?
Yes, I did. I talked to Stefan about it, and I should have listened to him. So I hire a guy. I actually found him online and looked him up. And at first I was real skeptical about if it was really him or not. And then I got this paperwork about some of the stuff that he'd done. Like, my dad was not a good person.
Mm-hmm.
So he had been charged with multiple counts of child stuff and just being a fucked up person, right?
Oh, shit.
And I don't know, it really sucks to feel like that's what you come from, you know? But at that point, you have accountability, and I can change my life. I can be whoever I want to be. Tomorrow, I could be a drug addict again if I wanted to be. But that's not who I want to be. That's not who I wanted to be when I was 12, and that's not who I'm going to be. So found him, got a number, and called it, and went to voicemail, and I knew it was him. I know
You
his
just
voice.
tell by the voice.
Yep.
Okay.
And didn't leave a message. Like, waited about 10 minutes, called back again, left a long message and a text message, and called back again. And not right away, but like another 10 minutes later, and it was blocked. And like, I called from a private number right after that. Went through, didn't go straight to voicemail. So obviously he blocked my number. And that, like, I don't know, man, that really sucked. I don't know what I wanted. I really don't. I don't know.
Some type of closure maybe, but instead it's just more bullshit from him, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of wanted him to know that I'm okay, and I turned out I just needed something. I needed something at that point from him, something just to be like, hey, even if he would have told me to say fuck off and I don't want anything to do with you, it would have made me okay.
Well, I mean, he kind of did do that.
He did it my
in a
whole
sense,
life.
you
Like,
know?
you know, like I think that's what it was. It's just him not wanting anything to do with me again. So it brought up all that shit, that airport of him ghosting me, because I didn't even remember that up until the thing about addiction and drinking and all that other stuff is it makes the stuff that really hurts go away.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that shit. I mean, I didn't think about. There was a time when I was, I think, 6 or 7, and my mom put me in a hospital for a while. I don't think she could deal with me. And I remember it was the first time I saw my father. It was down in California. It was because he was stationed at Camp Pendleton. And
Oh, he was a Marine?
Yep. And I was in the hospital, and he came up, and I remember running up.
What does that even mean? Your mom put you in the hospital? like a fucking psych ward?
Yep.
Okay.
She's done it twice. Like I said, my mom, it's weird looking back on some of this stuff.
At 7.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
And she was not, I feel really bad because, like, she shouldn't have had me. You know, she's not a good mother. I mean, she's not a good mother, but she's not a bad person. She's not capable of being a mom. There shouldn't, you look at abortion, you look at things. I don't agree with abortion. Maybe if you have one freebie, but you get your tubes tied after that. If you can't handle having a kid,
Yeah.
you get your tubes tied. And I'm one to speak. I haven't been the best father, but I know I want to be. I know I would never walk away from my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I know I would never lock my fucking kid in a psych ward.
How old's Kai now?
Kai's right now.
Yeah, right now.
He's 18.
Okay. He's a fucking young man now.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel really like me and him have a good relationship. Like he can talk to me, you know. Like I talk to him. Like I don't think enough parents actually talk to their kids.
No, I know what you're saying. Just being a real person.
Like he's having a really tough time right now with COVID and going to bat. Like 18's a really tough time for a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
But yeah,
so
these last 2 years is fucked for kids, man.
his mom calls me and it's like I can't deal with him. And so I'm like, well, we need to do this kind of as a family. We need to come together and talk to him because. So I go over there and talk to him. He's just really upset about everything because he didn't pass his SAT, and that seems like the world right now to a kid. Seems like his world falling apart. And I just sit him down and I'm like, hey, this is a short blip in your life, bud. You know, don't let it get you down. And he's like, I can really feel like I can only talk to you. And his mom's right there. And I know his mom's just like, you know, she doesn't like to hear that, but
it's just a different connection. It is what it is, you know?
And
are her and you, after you got clean,
Yeah.
able to co-parent and finally be good after
Yeah,
a
we're
fucking roller coaster of craziness?
dude, we are so good. Like, at least I hope so. I don't, but like, she'll call me, we'll talk, and
No, that's cool, man. And
The thing is
I
that
want people to hear. I mean, a big part of wanting to have you on here and tell the story is that, like, if you do the right thing, there's hope at the other side of this.
oh, there totally is.
You know, and now like your relationships are better. You're fucking like everything is starting, or has, I should say, you know, turned around after you made that decision that I'm putting this shit behind me.
It's better. It hasn't just turned around. It's way better. I'm a way better person now than I was when I was 18, 20. I mean, just as a core, because what's really important? Is it important to be a world-class fighter? Is it important? No, it's just important to do the best that you possibly can every day in every aspect of your life. For me, I go through little cycles because I have realization of who I am. And like right now, gym's not as important to me. Work has been my focus, but whatever I'm doing, I have to go 110%. Like I'm going to get back in the gym pretty soon, start working out again, but I have to have something that I focus on.
Yeah. And I mean, you're building your own company now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And when did that start after you got clean?
Yep.
Okay.
Everything. All the fear.
I mean, when you first walked in, we were making coffee, you were like talking about your employees. So like it's actually happening and you're doing well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got 6 guys working for me now. And I was always like the superintendent. The thing that not having a dad, it's really like if you have some real realization of why you do things and why certain things go on. Eric, I did really good at fighting because I wanted Eric as my father. Like I wanted to please him.
Yeah.
Same at any job I've ever had. There's always been a male that's owned it, and I've always wanted to please them and get some, hey, I'm here. Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm doing good.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. But the main reason I was doing that is because I didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
You know, I always wanted that one person, and I'd keep aiming for that till I really realized why I was doing all this stuff. And it's just to get that attention from my father.
Wow. Like, isn't that fucking nuts?
It is.
This 30-year odyssey of drugs and fighting and addiction and jail. You're looking for fucking affection from your father.
Totally.
You know?
And that's one thing I really try to give to my son, Kai. I try to give it to my other kids too. But Kai didn't have that. Like, me and Kai went out to dinner the other day. It was probably like 3 months ago. And I just go, dude, I'm really proud of you. And he goes, because he got straight A's his first semester and was a captain of the basketball team. I'm like, I'm really proud of you, doing really good. And he goes, because of basketball? I'm really proud of the man you are. Mm-hmm. You know, I look up to you. And he goes, what do you mean you look up to me? And I go, because I was your age. There's no way I could have forgiven my father right then. And we couldn't have had a relationship. And you allow me in, that's huge. I let him down so much, you know, and for him to be able
but bro, being honest about it and going to him and saying those things and giving him a pass to like express those feelings to you and shit. Like you just got done saying that since your dad didn't do that, it fucked you up for 30 years.
Yeah. He didn't give me,
you know, like for you to do that to him, that's only going to empower him to continue even becoming better, you know?
Yeah. To give him a voice, to let him know how he feels, I think is a big thing. I wish that's probably what I was looking for. It was just for him to act like I was there and to give me something to talk to him.
Yeah.
To know that at least I had a father, you know?
Dude, let me ask you this, because I know you hear stories of relapses forever from people.
Yeah.
You know? Do you think that there's even a possible scenario that exists to take you back down that path?
I'll put it like this. I relapsed probably 2 weeks ago. Like relapsed. I didn't use. I'll look at it like fighting. Okay. You can go into a fight and not train.
Uh-huh.
And you're not really fighting. Like you're not at your full potential. So like 2 weeks ago, I still fought, but I didn't train for the fight. I wasn't totally sober. Like I was going back in the same path and relapsing in that aspect.
I don't really understand what you mean. Like
okay.
you're having the tendencies or the feelings.
Yep.
Okay.
I fell back into that not being accountable, not evaluating what my emotions were. And I had to go back and write some stuff down and look at it. And when I talked to Stefan about it, I was like, hey dude, I woke up this morning. I just felt like blowing it all up. And I don't know why. I mean, literally, I've been through this 30-year roller coaster of being locked up, wrecking vehicles, ruining relationships, not opening up. And I woke up one morning and just felt like blowing it all up. And,
bro, I think that's something inside all of us, though.
And that's
at
what
some point
we talked about. But before I would never reach out. I would never talk to anybody about this stuff. There's all emotions that I kept inside.
Yeah.
You know,
bro, Stefan is a great person to bounce that accountability off of.
Yeah.
You know?
And I sat there and it's just, I don't know if it's his voice or whatever. I think he should be some sort of fucking counselor.
Bro, I sit straight up. I agree, man.
Yeah. And it's even better.
One of the most introspective people you'll ever meet.
Yeah. And I don't ever feel like I'm judged with him.
Uh-huh.
You know, I always felt like I was being judged with my grandmother or somebody else, but I never feel like I feel like I could be to Steph and be like, hey, dude, I'm a priest and I fucking grabbed this kid on accident. And, and he'd be like, well, you know, you got to do this.
Yeah, this is the path.
This is the path. And I would
I mean, we could fucking talk about Stefan's done the show, you know, like a year ago or something. But that motherfucker, like, I don't know where he got this fucking, like, he was always, when we were little boys, because I was friends with him in like third grade, he was always operating on a higher frequency than most people. But dude, he's done something in the last 10 years where he's just fucking elevated who he is, like spiritually, in a way that I think few people will ever attain.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes from, the things that I gained from him is just evaluating yourself every day. And that really helps me out a lot. And really knowing why I do stuff and what makes me happy. You know, going back to relationships, you know, when you're looking for a mate, it's just like, is she good looking, this, that, or other thing. But for me personally, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at really, is this a good fit for me? Is it going to further my life? Is it going to make me better? It was like, does she look good on my arm?
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's with every aspect of my life now. I think, why am I doing this? Is it going to make me better? Is it going to get me to where I want to go? And not just financially, but spiritually and all aspects. Because I think as a civilization or as a group of people, we focus way too much on financial and
Bro, it's everything.
Everything, yeah.
Look, our entire school system is built to make you become part of the workforce, get strapped with student loans, and just become a miserable fuck.
Yeah.
It doesn't teach you anything about growing spiritually or being kind or having integrity or uplifting other people. Like, there's so many aspects of humanity that are lost right now, and that's a whole other show. But man, it's so cool to see you come from where you were to having all these realizations. And it's like, sitting here now, I don't think that you will ever fucking go
I'll never use again.
back down a bad path.
I know I won't.
You know, like you've made a real commitment to change, and like I can see it in your eyes and hear it in your voice, and it's a real thing, man. And it's fucking cool to see, like, that's a reality for people if they make that fucking choice.
The thing is a lot of people lose, like I said, they lose themselves. But think about it. We were all 8 to 12 years old at some point, and we functioned without alcohol. We functioned without drugs.
Yeah.
We functioned without that release. At some point, you started feeling sorry for yourself and thinking that you needed this substance or needed this to be happy, and you don't. Like, you just need to realize that life is great. You have a lot of blessings, and just to live your life and be happy. And that's finally where I got back to where I was when I was a kid. I know at that point there's a lot of fucked up things going on in my life, but there's always going to be fucked up shit going on in everybody's fucking life.
And it goes back to perspective. You look at what's happening and you tell yourself a sad story. Oh, poor me. I can't believe this. This person said this, and now I can't pay for that. And it's like, or you can take those exact same set of circumstances and be like, okay, this is why this happened, and this is how I make it better.
Yep, exactly. Like with work, I've had my that van being stolen or broken into. I've lost like $24,000 this year in losses. What have I done?
Dude.
I know, like, I could easily just be like, that's the reason my fucking company didn't succeed, is these goddamn bums broke into my vehicles and ruined my whole life. And instead, I'm just like, fuck, I guess I gotta lock up my vehicles.
So then,
and now the next bum I see, I'm gonna kill him.
Another part of the success story I want to talk about before we wrap this up, because we're already at 2 hours. You fucking not only figured out a way to get yourself clean, but then the mother of your children, because you had to leave her for a while and take the kids because she was still living that life.
That's one thing I think that's brought me and Tony closer together too. Just is realizing what she was going through. Because I went through that with the kids. Like, I was like, fuck, she's crazy. She's off her rocker. But I mean, the whole story, we could get into it, but it's Jerry Springer shit. But
but I guess the Cliff Notes version then is that, like, you guys are you're back together now.
We are. Yes,
and
we are.
You're both clean and sober. And she's been able to follow you down that path of sobriety, even though it may have taken, the timeline wasn't matched up, right?
I think the biggest thing is like the comparison thing. Like, if I wanted to, I could have just, first off, let's go to the court thing, because all I ever wanted to be was a father, right?
Mm-hmm.
Happiest day of my life was when I walked out of the court and had custody of my 2 kids. And my lawyer said, hey, there's nothing you're ever going to do that gets these kids out of your custody. That was like a real safe net for me. Allowed me to open up to her and allow her in and to try to work with her. Because if I would have had to worry about my custody of my kids going away, I don't think I would have ever rekindled the relationship with her.
I see.
Having those kids having Kai taken away was just like, I mean, not having control, kind of.
Yeah.
Really scared the shit out of me, knowing that a government agency can just come in and say, no, you're not going to, this is the time you get to see your kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I got custody of my kids, and watching her go through the path that she did. And I sat down and I really looked at what I did to get her there too. I wasn't the best partner. You know, I didn't help her out in her life prior to. I would just go to work and not pay attention to her emotions. And I could see, I put myself in her shoes and saw why she used and saw why she went through this stuff. And I think us as people don't do that enough. We just look at an addict and call him a piece of shit. And they're not a piece of shit as a person, but what they're doing at that, those choices they're making, they need to be held accountable. They need to hold themselves accountable to get themselves out of that. And looking at her, I remember driving down the road and seeing, because I love Ashley to death, but she's really sensitive. Her dad died of an overdose. You know, I think that's why me and her are so close. My dad left, and I mean, our kids don't have a grandpa.
Yeah, so you're bonded by tragedy, you know?
And I know her better than she knows herself, and she knows me better than I know myself. And watching her use and go through some of the stuff she went through, she has a daughter, Anastasia, who's a year and a half now, and her father's dead. Her father died of a drug overdose as well. Looking at Ashley just broke. She called me one day, didn't have food, didn't have anything, and I've always been there for anybody that I really cared for, and I will always be to this day. So I went and saw her and gave her some money got her some teriyaki and talked to her, and she blamed me for the kids and this, and I just put nope, this is some accountability. You need to be accountable for your actions, and started preaching to her some of the stuff that I had to learn myself that really helped me. And at first she was really reluctant to it, you know, like, no, you did this to me. I'm like, so what if I did? What if I was an asshole? What is that going to help you do anything? You need to find a way to deal with the situation. Yeah. You always have to find a way, no matter what the odds are, you're going to have to deal with it. You can't grow and just blame somebody else. It's ultimate accountability. You're the reason you're in this situation, no one else. You know, you picked to have kids with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I raped you, so some way you're accountable, right? Yeah. But I let her move in to my place because she had no place to stay. She was going through a fifth a day, not to mention methadone every day.
You're clean and sober, but you have an addict using in your house.
Yes.
Is that dangerous for you at all? Or since you made that decision, it wasn't a thing, huh?
No. At that point, I had when your kids come up to you and they go, Dad, I'm glad you quit drinking. I don't know, maybe my addiction's not as strong as some other people's, but there's no way I'd ever go back to it. There's just no way. I worked, like Kyle asks me sometimes, you ever think you're going to use again? And there's just no way. Where my life's at right now, there's just no way. Even if say something happened to Kai, something happened to my kids, there's no way I'm going to, because it's not going to make anything better. Yeah. Drugs and alcohol will never make anything better. And I've come to that realization, there's no way I'm going back.
Dude, that's fucking rad.
So.
Well, fuck, dude. We're at 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Just call it good.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say before you wrap it up?
Literally everybody in my life right now, you're there for a reason, and I'm glad that you're there. Yeah. And everybody that's not, you're negative and fuck yourself.
All right, man. Let's go get some breakfast.
All right, buddy.